So, this is part of our 70,000 tons of metal interview series.
Amazing.
It was freaking amazing, is right. But anyway, before we get started, we want to thank definitely Skipper, Andy, and Allison, and Wolfgang, and everyone over at CMM, including Sonia, who was so gracious to help me set all these up. Even when she had a stressful day and everybody was yelling at her for not getting things done, she got us the interviews we needed with no problem at all. So I want to thank all of them.
Amazing.
For an amazing time.
And if you want to know more about 70,000 tons of metal, just go to 70,000tonsofmetal.com.
And I suggest you do, because really there's nothing like it. This was round 5 for me, I believe, and there's really nothing like it. So do that.
All right.
Hello, this is Dolk from Kampfar. Right now I'm at 70,000 tons of metal, and you're listening to Brutally Delicious Podcast.
So I don't know how to describe this band except to say it's black metal, super extreme. I was kind of walking into it going, I'm not sure what to expect, and then I was completely blown away. I mean, it's definitely extreme, and in the conversation we talk about a lot of things about black metal, and we actually talk about the movie that we've talked about before, The Lords of Chaos, and how it relates to black metal. But these guys are like serious black metal from Norway. They knew all those people from the scene in that movie, you know, the whole church burning sort of thing going on.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so they're very serious, but it's so extreme. I don't know how to, like, the thing they kept saying is, you know, we try and push the limits in every record we do, so we're not stuck in the same thing. And that's how they define black metal, by kind of like pushing limits every time, whether it's in production or it's in, you know, musicality or lyrics or whatever.
And it's kind of strange too, because they're a black metal band, but they're famous. Well, famous for black metal.
Yeah, I mean, Dolk is the guy I spoke with, and I mean, he was the super nicest guy in the world. You'd never, again, that whole onstage, offstage persona. You see him on stage, and I mean, it's extreme is the word I would use. They're brutal. And then, you know, offstage, you'll hear in this interview, he's the nicest guy in the world.
Oh, fucking A.
Yeah, so, I mean, and both nights, this is one of those bands I don't think has ever been to the States, but both nights, there are shows where you couldn't even get in. The first night was in the that tiny little lounge, I can't think of, where we saw Legion that time.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think, what do they call it, the Schooner Lounge or something?
I don't remember what it's called now, but dude, I got there late, and I couldn't even get in. I was like in the doorway. It was that packed.
That's great.
It was totally that packed. And then the next time I saw them, they went on at like 2:15 or something, really late in the morning. And I had had enough. I mean, I know you're going to call me a wiener, but I had to go take a nap. I had seen so much stuff. I kind of went to bed around like, I don't know, 11 o'clock. I took a nap and I set the alarm and I went and caught him again for Denise. Like, what are you doing? I go, I can't miss him again. I got to go see him.
Oh, nice. So where did they play the second time? At the ice rink?
Yeah, the ice rink. Yeah.
Was it jammed?
Jammed again, even at like 1:15 or 2. I don't remember what it was, like really late.
Really late.
That's the thing about the boat too that just cracks me up. I mean, you go see bands at like 3, 4 in the morning, and there's tons of people still there.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, people plan to lose sleep. I remember the first year they were advertising, and their slogan was, "You're gonna need a vacation from this vacation."
Oh, they ain't lying, dude.
No, I know.
I think we were talking via text the beginning of the week. I mean, like, I think Sunday when I finally got home, I was like, fuck, I slept forever. Then I went to work a couple days, and then Tuesday night or something, I still didn't feel right. I slept like 12 hours. It definitely catches up to you.
You know, I when I go on that cruise, and honestly, it's the best time you could ever have as a metal fan. I never plan to leave the day the boat lands. And the next time I go, I'm actually paying for a hotel room the night before the boat comes in so that I can just go and check in and go to bed.
Yeah, we didn't have a choice because it was sort of a last minute and fun thing. So we got there, I don't know, the day it left, we got in the morning, and then we left like, I don't know, 4 hours after we docked.
Oh, God, that must have been like... You get there, and that's fine. You get off the plane, and you jump in an Uber, and you go to the port, and you're on the boat. That's cool. Right. But getting off the boat and then getting on a plane, oh God, I've done it, and it's
rough.
It's rough, especially when you treat alcohol like your fucking girlfriend on the boat, which is what I did.
Yeah, I think most people do. And then the other thing is that everybody you'll see online if you go to any of the groups, but that post-cruise depression is a thing, dude.
Oh, it is.
I don't even know how to explain it because, like, after the first day, like, where the fuck? I just want to go down to the lobby and hang out with everybody and drink beer and chat about metal, and I don't want to go back. I don't want to go back to reality. It's kind of like you're in your own little microcosm, and it's awesome.
Oh yeah, I usually have a rule on the boat about drinking though, and I won't drink until after I've had breakfast.
Nice. But see, it's kind of weird because some of those people are not ever going to sleep. So there's no breakfast. It's just one big thing.
Oh yeah, like one year I met a guy that would plan naps during sets he didn't want to see, and that's
a bunch of people I talked to that do that.
And that's the only sleep he got. That's it.
Yep.
I was like, how is that even functioning?
But I mean, so there's 62 bands on the boat. I think I saw like 24 or 25.
Oh my God.
But I'm seeing posts from people like, I saw 56 bands. I'm like, how the hell is that even possible?
I have no idea. Just walking from one side of that boat to the other takes up, like so much time.
Yeah, I'm not even sure how you could see 50. I'm not even sure how I did 24 because when I think about all I did, I'm like, oh my God, between all that and then the interviews and everything else I was doing, I was like, holy shit, I'm dead.
Yeah.
And this dude's like, I saw 56 shows. Wow. You got your money's worth for sure, dude.
Oh God. It in my opinion, it's the coolest metal festival in the world because it's so unique.
Yeah, so I had this conversation with a lot of the people I spoke with. I've never been to one of those European festivals, so I really can't compare it, but it's got to be like much better because at those European festivals, you have barricades and there's backstage and you're not really there. You can't just, walk up to Cronus in the bar and have a beer and take a selfie.
No, you can't.
And, everybody I've come across, and I don't do it, but I've seen people even being what I would consider rude, like asking people for pictures while they're eating or stuff. Everybody's been really gracious.
Oh yeah. I mean, when they sign up for this, they know what they're getting into, And,
right.
And I think oh, I can't say this. I'll say it. I'll say it. So I interviewed a really big metal band, one time that was announced for 70,000 tons of metal, and they had to cancel. They had to cancel for a family emergency.
Right.
But when I interviewed them, I interviewed the singer, and at first he was like, "Man, I'm really scared about this because I've never been that surrounded and closed in with fans for so long. I don't know how to think about it." And so I started showing him on my phone pictures, and I was like, this is what happens, and this is what happens, and everyone's really cool. You don't get bugged, and yada yada yada. And and then he's like, that's what everyone tells me. He's like, all the metal community talks about going and playing on this boat. They say it's something you have to do at least one time in your life because it's that amazing. Yeah. And at the end, we kind of, he was like, thank you so much for, telling me about this. I'm really excited to play. But they did have a legitimate family emergency. They had to cancel, and they've never been back. So, I hope one day. Yeah. I hope one day they are.
Yeah, but yeah, I mean, I 100% agree. It's a great experience. If you haven't done it, you should put your pennies together and do it. And without further ado, I've got Dolk from Kampfar. This is a really great interview. We really get into the nitty gritty of black metal. We talk about the boat, we talk about festivals, and then we really get into the Lords of Chaos movie and the what black metal is and the truth spirit of black metal, which as a Westerner, I guess from the States, you don't really understand. Dolk explains it the best. We can just go right to him and let him take it away.
Keep it metal.
Yeah. So I guess let's talk about the cruise first. So you guys have done, with 200 shows, you've done a bunch of European festivals, right?
Yeah.
How does a European festival, when it's a destination, compare to something like this where you're
something like this. We already know kind of what we went to, because we went to Barge to Hell.
Years ago.
A few years ago, yeah. But it was not as packed as this boat is. But I mean, still we knew what we went to, But I mean, the difference here is like when you play festivals, at least in Europe, you have this sort of isolation with the backstage, which you don't have here. So I mean, you walk into all the fans here, so it's a completely different thing actually. But
and that can go both ways, though, right?
That can go both ways for sure. Yeah, for sure. But
I think now at year 10, though, fans are probably a little bit know the etiquette a little bit more, maybe, and they're not interrupting, I hope, when you're eating pizza or doing something.
Exactly. There's people have developed
manners.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, it's a good thing here. Here at this cruise ship, we are sort of one of the few most extreme bands here in that way that you can put it in black metal direction. But right. I mean, so you have a lot of different audience here. So I mean, it's not a problem at all.
So that was one of my later questions, but you touched on it now. It's pretty interesting, I think, seeing not only the multi-generational fans, which I'm sure you're getting because you've been in this for a while, so you're getting like people like me bringing in their kids to the shows, but you're also getting people who don't even they're here for Leaves' Eyes or they're here for Epica, and they come across your kind of show. That's a pretty cool exposure, right?
Yeah, for sure. It's that's a good thing actually, because we noticed that pretty much with Kampfar, at least the 5 last years now that we have done live shows, that you might think that everyone knows about you, but they don't, So I mean, it's a good thing. So you play festivals where people don't know you, and all of a sudden they're getting to recognize you in a way.
Not only that, but you're also getting people like me who are bringing their kids, right, to the shows. The same. Hey, you guys got to check out Kampfar. Am I pronouncing that right?
Yeah, that's really good. Yeah, you're pronouncing it right, and that's really good too, because during the years now, in the early years when we started touring with Kampfar, you had these really old school metal fans. And with Kampfar especially, we try to develop the music sort of not in a new direction, but I mean more it's different though than there was in the last in the beginning. So I mean, the thing is, you kind of grab new audience in a way, and for me that has been playing with Kampfar for 25 years, and I mean that's not my first band either, but I mean this is the band I have been doing for 25 years, and I see a lot of difference, because it's very funny actually to see some of these die-hard fans that you had in the early 90s, where their sons actually coming to our shows. Yeah, which is quite...
I mean, I see some of that here, and I know I take my kids, not necessarily like Kampfar show, but I take them to see shows like Exodus or something, and this is what I grew up on 30 years ago or whatever, so it's kind of cool.
Exactly.
I know you mentioned it again, but did you ever imagine you'd be doing this 25, 30 years later? I mean, because extreme metal, especially 25 years ago, was pretty underground, right?
Yeah, it was pretty underground, but I mean, no, I wouldn't have predicted that, but in a way, as the year passed by, this is sort of who I am. I have 3 kids now. I mean, it's a big difference, but I mean, I'm still who I am, and I mean, it doesn't feel unnatural to do this.
Right.
Yeah.
So Ophidian's Manifests came out. When you guys are writing, and I don't know if this applies to you at all, and if it doesn't, you can tell me no, but are you writing so the fans have something, if there's a takeaway for the fans, is some kind of meaning behind it, or are you writing just these songs for specific song's sake? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a good question actually, because normally with Kampfar, we can have this rough idea where to go, but especially with the last album, it became it kind of shapes during the way when you start creating, when you start the process of creating new stuff, it became so personal in a way, because me personally now for the last 2.5 years has been at a very, very dark spot personally. So I mean that's kind of got the whole essence of the album in a way. So it became much more personal than we had in mind.
Do you find it to be cathartic?
Yeah, more. It's more. It's more of a, you know, how can I put it? It's more of a mental state of mine. I think this album it became very personal, and it became more on the roots of life and death in general. I think because it's I mean, if you're close to death, that I was, you know, 2.5 years ago, that kind of shapes you in a way.
Sure.
And I think that album, especially Ophidian's Manifest, has been shaped very much about that. And the lyrics also, you know, and there's also some stuff that you cannot control during all this process, like this process, when we usually go. I have a cabin up in the mountains in Norway, and that's where we have been going for the last 3 albums actually to create. I don't know if it's a mind fuck up or something, but for us it works very well to just go there.
So I don't claim to know a whole lot about the origins of black metal, but isn't black metal sort of tied into the whole nature thing?
For sure, especially in Norway it is. I mean, but it's impossible to not be in that way also, I think, because if you are a Norwegian like I am, I know nothing else than being a Norwegian, because that's what I've been growing up to. And for us, we are very close connected to nature all the time, even if you want to know or not, you know. It's only the big cities like Oslo now which is a bit different, but I mean, if you live in the rest of Norway, you're always close connected to nature. So I mean, that has shaped everything.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I don't know if this applies, and who do you think is carrying the true Norwegian black metal torch, so to speak, nowadays? Because there's different versions of black metal all over the place, but who would you say, in your opinion, is carrying that, besides Kampfar, who's carrying that torch?
I think honestly, to be really honest now, I think it's less and less, actually, because all the old bands also disappear in a way, so we're not so many left. What I see now in Norway, especially like the new bands that are coming up, which is kind of disappointing to me, because when black metal started to become worldwide, you know, in the early 90s, it had one big essence, and the essence was that every band kind of pushed the limits. Mm-hmm. In right or left or whatever, you know, but we went in different directions. And I think that the new bands that are coming up now in Norway, they play more on what we used to do 25 years ago, in a way. So in my opinion, there's great that they do that, but there's nothing new in a way. So in my opinion, to be carrying the torch to do something differently, you have to do something differently.
Right. No, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I don't think that's many of us left. I think Gals Vird is a really good example of someone who's trying to push the limits.
But he's one of the originators from way back when as well.
For sure, he's one of the originators, but still he pushed the limits.
Yeah.
And I have the same thing with Kampfar, because we have been doing this for many, many years, but still we try to push the limits to go in new directions in a way. And I in my opinion, there's not much bands left that do that. I mean, I have a lot of you know, really honor, and I feel really great about several bands in black metal, but I don't think there are so many left that push the limits, to be honest. I think Gals Vird is one of the things I can come up with right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that whole scene, you talked about the early 90s, the black metal scene. What did you think of that movie? Not even close. It's
really funny to see, actually, because there's some points in that movie that are really correct.
Because you probably knew some of those guys, right?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we were stepping in the middle of it all back then, you know. But I mean, for me, what is the most funny part to see actually in that movie is something that I don't think people think too much about these days. But back in the 90s in Norway, you know, we didn't have internet. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have that kind of connection. We had handwritten letters, you know.
Right.
So the thing with the thing is like. In Norway, especially, there was a lot of these so-called black packers that came from Poland, Portugal, Spain, France, you know, whatever, and they just came because we had the written address on the envelopes.
Oh, to the record store?
No, they came home to our places.
Oh, really?
Knocking on our door, you know. And my home address was not my home address because of that. My home address was with my parents. So a lot of people just came. You know?
I didn't realize that.
Yeah, it was a big movement, you know. And people were knocking on the door, and my father could come to me with his car full of these people, you know, they're here to see you, so I had to let them in and have a coffee, and sometimes they slept over and stuff. But these guys, they have a major story in which I think this movie miss, because these guys have a major influence in the whole Norwegian thing, because those guys were visiting maybe Ishan from Emperor one day, and the next day they visited me, and the next day they went to Euronymous in Oslo, and that's how we all got to hear about each other. And we heard about each other that, you know, Ishan, he told me this and that, and he's doing this and he's doing that,
right.
Because people don't think about that now, because now we have internet, now we are so overflowing with information,
right.
But we didn't have that information back then, so we almost like you know, like all the Indians, you know. It's like we heard, because we lived in Norway, there was a huge mountain, and on the other mountain there were Ishan living, and on the other mountain,
but yeah, it's a whole other world away.
Exactly. So we kind of, with different words, but still we connected in a way, and I think that movie misses that link, because that link made a much more huge impression on everyone.
They were going for sensationalism, though, for sure.
Exactly.
Right.
So I mean, but the movie itself, it's it is what it is. It is a movie.
Right.
So,
no, I 100% agree. Are we okay? I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not
okay.
driving you nuts. Okay. So when you're writing, especially the new record, do you find it hard not writing the same record over and over again? I mean.
Yeah, that has been the main issue for Kampfar for me, because when we did the album in 2014 called Djevelmakt, that was the edge that we were standing on, actually, because we went into Abbey's studio in Sweden, and that was the first time for like 14 years I was really sweating, because I was so nervous, because I was trying to go to different places, you know, with the singing, with the vocals, with everything, you know, and that's because of what you say. We came to that conclusion that we are safe in what we do. We could do this over and over again. We can make another album, no stress at all. But to be moving forward and to take the torch and really move forward with, you have to step out of that bubble, right. And that's what we did in 2014, and we still continue on that road, and that is actually a main issue for us.
But it's a conscious effort, right? Though, because it's easy to slip back, I think.
It is. It really is, but it's a main focus for us.